What are you? I'm not sure what you're asking. Oh.
I was going to say, yeah, the songs have multiple verses.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's an interesting configuration in the room here. We're pretty full over here, and then it's a little bit here and it's a little bit here. I don't know how we got drawn to the seats we are at, but whew. I don't know about y'all, but I'm exhausted this morning. Is there anybody else who's tired? If you're tired and you came here this morning, woo! Hope that you find some peace and some refreshment and some joy here. My mic's... We're having a few mic issues. Are we okay? All right. Fantastic. Well, before we get started, as usual, I would like to invite us all to take some deep breaths and get grounded. It's amazing how much just a couple of deep breaths can change things in us and around us and for us. And so as we settle in this morning, I invite you to respond to the words I'm about to say. Come as you are, aching, tired, joyful, or seeking. Here we are woven together in love. Set down what you carry and let this be a place of rest. Here we are held in hope and mercy. Be present to yourself, to each other, and to the divine life that flows through all things. Here, together, we find the common thread of divine life that connects us all. This common thread of divine life in which we live and move and have our being, our God who is lover beloved and love overflowing. Amen.
Something is added. In the pursuit of the way, every day something is let go. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing thy grace. Streams of mercy never ceasing, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach me some sonnet sung by flaming tongues above. praise the mount I'm fixed upon it, mount of God's unchanging love. I was lost in utter darkness. I was trapped in toxic shame. I was bound by my religion till I chose to make a change. Now I'm finding my true colors. For the first time I feel free. Now I'm learning self-compassion. As I heal, I'm finding peace. Ooh. I kept others at a distance, those who lived life differently, saw the world in right or wrong, but they're all human just like me. I stepped out and love expanded us and then melted away. Beauty found in every difference. As I listen, I'm amazed. I saw danger in my questions. I took captive all my thoughts. Certainty was my salvation till I questioned what was taught. Now my eyes are wide in wonder, mine set free now to discern. I might not have all the answers, but I have all this life to learn. Come thou fount of every blessing, tune my heart to sing your grace. Rivers flowing, never ending, call for songs of loudest praise. Teach us harmonies of wonder, born of love and spirit's flame. Praise the source, our hearts upon it, source of God's eternal name. All right. Hello again. And welcome to Common Thread on this Sunday morning. We are so glad that you are joining us here. If you don't know me, I'm Melissa, usually over there, sometimes over here. But we are just so glad that you are with us. If you are here, you belong. We say it every week, and it is true. So whether you are a newcomer or an old timer, if you came years ago or you've been coming for the last few weeks, and however you found us, whether that was online or you saw a sign on the street, however you ended up in the chair this morning here, we are delighted that you are here. So welcome. If you click on this QR code, if you are new and you click on that QR code, you'll get a very low pressure email with a little bit more information about us, just who we are. It is a zero pressure email, but there is an option if you want to connect with a live human being to get a more firsthand detailed account of who we are, where we shine, where we fall short, but mostly how transformation is the aim for each of us on our spiritual path, and we do that by walking it together. And so also on that note, if you are here this morning and you're having a hard time, we have a listener every week down the hall after the service who will just hold space for you. They will listen to what you are holding. They can be a shoulder to cry on, a supportive ear. So we do offer that every week. Today, our listener is Cherie. And Cherie is there in the back in the booth right now, but she will be down the hall in the library after the service, and you can go and talk to Cherie if you need that this morning. And also, here is another QR code. If you need a little bit more support, you can click that QR code, and that'll get you connected with Morgan, who is our care team coordinator. And if you give her the details about what's going on in your life, she can get you connected with someone who can be some support. So now let's say together, as we do every week, if you are here, you belong. And we are, every one of us, carriers of the inner light. And we are, every one of us, carriers of divine breath. And so now I invite you to stand and greet other carriers of inner light and divine breath this morning.
I did not.
They were totally different.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah.
They were the lyrics from the beginning.
No,
No?
no. Unless I didn't.
Like, were they just wrong?
No, they were the first time it was the original Come Thou Fount. When we went back to it, it was like she had rewritten it.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, and I just was like, because I was about to be like, and it was like, oh, those are not the words that are up there.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully, well, yeah, it was.
Distracted enough with trying to make the piano part happen that I did not.
It was, it would have been fine either way. But I was just
Right.
like, oh.
Well, it would have definitely been a moment of confusion for everybody. Like, what song is Melissa singing? Because we've got the words right here. 1, 1, 1.
Where is Chris?
Chris is right there.
All right. Let's give it up for our music team all the time. We have a new member of our music team joining us this morning. Thank you, Chris. I don't got to play the drums so much. Here we go.
From the mountains to the shore,
God, teach us to be one.
with the homeless and the poor.
God, teach us to be one.
When our sense of hope is strong,
God, teach us to be one.
when our strength is almost gone.
God, teach us to be one.
God, teach us to be one. God, teach us to be one. May unity shine like the sun through everyone. When we cry to you in prayer,
God, teach us to be one.
when we don't believe you're there,
God, teach us to be one.
when we feel your gentle hand,
God, teach us to be one.
when we just don't understand.
God, teach us to be one.
God, teach us to be one. God, teach us to be one. May unity shine like the sun through everyone. When we're walking in the light,
God, teach us to be one.
when our hearts are dark as night,
God, teach us to be one.
when we get what we desire,
God, teach us to be one.
when we're going through the fire.
God, teach us to be one.
God, teach us to be one. God, teach us to be one. May unity shine like the sun through everyone.
All right, so very quickly, a few ways that you can connect in the community up here on the screen. A lot of stuff happening over the next few weeks. I'm not going to hit every single one of those, but in a minute I'll tell you where you can always find them. Quick shout out though that if you see something that you're going to do, sign up. It's helpful. Like actually register. Anyway. So all of that is there, and we're going to keep going. So a couple of featured announcements. A remote brew crew is happening for our remote people Sunday, October 12th. So yeah, hop online, grab your drink of choice at your house or wherever, and join a remote crew of people for a remote brew crew. And then also on Friday, October 17th, we're going to have a Bunko night at Carol's house. It's always a super fun time. Bunko is the lowest level skill game, and it's a lot of fun, and you can hang out with people and you win baby prizes. It's weird, but fun. So yeah, come to Bunko on Friday, October 17th. And as always, there are a number of ways to connect and find out what's going on. We have the church app that has all of those events listed, the website, and every Thursday, check your email for the weekly email. All right, thanks, y'all.
All right, I'm going to invite Doug up here to talk to us about One Wake. As you might know, we We pulled back a little bit last year during the transition. We had so much going on, but Doug has been spearheading a very strong effort to get us re-engaged with this very important work. And so, yep, there we go, pass that mic. And I thought I would just fill the time until we get the mic passed and Doug can get up here and talk about it. All right.
So, human beings are wired with three core things that are essential ingredients, essential nutrients for well-being. A sense of belonging, a sense of growing, and the ability to make a difference in the world around us. And if you stand back from what we call working the circle, you'll realize that those things are at the core of what we do. That's how we've organized our community. And One Wake is really the embodiment of those three things. Today, in room 205, I invite you to come join me and then Cherie, but I don't know, Cherie, how you're going to be two places at once. That's right. So you'll join me at least, and maybe Cherie will join. By the way, if you don't have any problems, don't go down and talk to Cherie. That way she can come to our meeting. So if you become part of the core team, those three things will happen. One Wake is founded on the concept of power being a power organization. And that sounds bad to people because we always associate power with what many of us have experienced, and that is dominating power or power over. But there is another source of power, and that is power with. One Wake is founded on the power of relationship. We organize ourselves together according to relationship, and we start with our own core team. This is a place of belonging. We start with relational meetings. That's what we do as part of a core team. The second thing is, this has happened to me every time I've given myself in service to some area. We will grow. When you give yourself in service to another endeavor, it just happens that you grow. And the third thing is, we will make a difference. Right now, our focus is affordable housing. One Wake, with our sister organizations, will build an additional 2,000 units of affordable housing in Wake County. And that's at the foundation of how well-being and stability happens in our lives. So I hope you will come join today. Join me, hear about it, find out exactly what's going on, get the details. It'll be in room 205. Come afterwards and look forward to that.
Thank you, Doug. So look at these beautiful people. So this is a photo from our leadership retreat yesterday. And what a wonderful retreat it was. We spent the day being real with each other in a safe space, listening, laughing, singing, deepening our relationships, sharing our joys and frustrations, and holding the tensions honestly and doing it all with love as we imagined who we as a community are becoming together. And I am so grateful for all of these servant leaders. Kate organized it all and made sure Friday's dinner and Saturday's breakfast were ready. And in fact, a lot of the snacks you see out there are from the retreat. So thank you, Kate. Morgan treated us to a wonderful lunch, and she and Jack even navigated downtown Durham's unexpected Pride Parade to go bring it back to us. We were wondering what was taking so long, but it was a journey. And Shelby brought fidgets and art materials so everyone could stay present in their own way. Joe and Melissa led us in music and movement. John and Lena hosted us Friday night. Carrie made her beautiful workspace, El Futuro, available so we could be off campus in a fresh setting. And everyone brought their insights, their hopes, and wisdom to the circle. Now, Ashley had to leave before we snapped this photo, so I don't see if you realize that I photoshopped her in there. She was there in the morning. I thought it was pretty good. I probably slid some of that past y'all. Some of you probably don't know. But anyhow, this retreat was a true collaboration, and it was a team effort. And it's a picture of what's possible when we are honest and vulnerable, and when we trust each other enough to hold both the hard and the hopeful. And it was a really beautiful, moving day, and I feel deeply grateful for these leaders and hopeful for the future of our community together. So thank you, friends. What a gift this weekend has been. And now, let's take a moment to settle. Let's pause. Let's be here. and let's be still. If it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes. Let your hands rest in your lap. Let your breath find its own way. Just notice your breath. Be still and know. I invite you to bring your awareness to the top of your head. What's there? Is it tight? Are you carrying some stress? Does it feel fine? Just notice whatever it is. Just be still and know. Now bring awareness to your face, to your forehead, your eyes and your jaw. If your jaw is clenched, just see if it wants to release. You can sense that in your stillness. Just be still. How about your shoulders? Can you drop them? Just let them relax. Your arms, your wrists, your palms and your fingers. What are they carrying? What can you let go? Be still and know. See if you can soften your belly as you bring awareness to your hips and your legs, your knees. Let that awareness flow down into your feet. Feel your connection to the earth, to all that is. Be still and know. Take another deep breath in. And a long exhale out. See if you can hear it deep within you. Be still and know that I am God.
Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know
Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still and know. Be still. Be still. Be still. Be still.
So there's a kind of story we hear a lot around here. One that might sound familiar if you've chosen to be part of this community. It starts with someone who's untangled the stale, flat faith they were handed. They've read the books, listened to the podcasts, walked away from the church they grew up in, started asking questions they never used to ask out loud. Piece by piece, they've dismantled the theology they were taught. No more hell, no more blood sacrifice, no more God as judge in the sky. They've let go of the fear-based religion that once kept them small. And they've found new language for love, for mystery, and for belonging. But even after they've come to know better, something stays unsettled. Something in the gut. Something in the bones. A nagging sense of shame or even terror that creeps up every now and then. An inner voice that whispers, "What if I got it wrong? What if they were right all along? What if I really am beyond saving?" It's something how deeply those old stories get into us and stay in us. Even when we stop believing them, they keep believing themselves. Which is why real healing, real transformation, asks more of us than just new ideas to replace the old ones. It asks us to keep learning, and to keep learning with more and more of who we are. As our understanding of what it means to work the circle continues to evolve, we want to take a fresh look at the next quadrant in our series, the learning quadrant. Now, a common thread, we've always said that learning is not just meant to give us new answers. It's meant to change us. But if we're honest, even that kind of learning, the transformational kind, has mostly lived in our heads. We've taken in big ideas and let them reshape how we think, how we speak, how we see the world, and that's essential work. But the work in our heads only gets us so far. Because, if you haven't noticed, we aren't just our heads. We also have bodies. Bodies that carry their own intelligence and also carry the trauma from our old frameworks. And the body doesn't learn through concepts like the mind does. It learns through experience, through repetition, through the nervous system's hard-won strategies for survival. And many of us were shaped, starting when we were very young, by a version of Christianity rooted in fear. Fear of doing it wrong, of asking the wrong questions, of being cast out, of being punished, even eternally condemned. And that fear wasn't theoretical. It was existential. It was reinforced again and again through shame, control, and conditional belonging. We were taught that staying in line was the only way to be safe, to be loved, to be saved. And even if we grew up with an emphasis on a God who is love, somehow there was always still hell lurking in the background, waiting for us should we die without a last confession or without truly accepting Jesus Christ as our Lord and Savior. And that teaching wasn't confined to our brains. Even when our minds have let go of the dogma and the distorted images of God, our bodies still remember what it felt like to sit in those pews and tremble. And the body doesn't unlearn those protective instincts overnight. Even if your beliefs on paper have changed, your nervous system may still be asking, is this really safe now? It takes time and a different kind of attention for that part of us to feel safe enough to soften, to breathe, to trust that something new is actually possible. And this is where the wisdom tradition we've been exploring offers a different path. One of this tradition's clearest voices today, modern mystic and Episcopal priest Cynthia Bourgeault, reminds us that real transformation doesn't come from information alone. It comes from integrating the three centers we talk about here, head, heart, and gut. Learning to live not just from the neck up, but from the whole of who we are. As Cynthia puts it, wisdom is not knowing more. It is knowing with more of you. So if learning is truly going to lead to transformation, it can't stop at the head. It has to reach the places where the old stories still live, not as thoughts, but as tight shoulders, as clenched jaws, as held breath. That's why on this wisdom path, we don't treat learning like just a transfer of information. Because transformation doesn't come from taking in more knowledge, it comes from letting go. And often the first step in this kind of learning is unlearning. Unlearning not just the doctrine, but unlearning the reflexes that once protected us but now keep us stuck. Unlearning the stories etched into our bodies before we could name them. Unlearning the voices, internal and external, that taught us love must be earned, worth must be proven, and punishment must be feared. Unlearning is the kind of learning that repatterns us from the inside out, not just in theory, not just in our heads, but in our nervous systems, in how we show up with one another. And how do we unlearn? Well, it starts when we slow down enough to notice what's happening in our bodies. When we feel the tightening in the gut, the clench in the jaw, the retreat behind the eyes, when we feel the sadness well up, when we allow our hearts to be pierced by grief. And when instead of bypassing these things, we stay with them. When we can be still and know a deeper truth. And over time, presence interrupts the old patterns, and new pathways, new responses begin to take root. This is unlearning from within our bodies, which doesn't mean we leave our thinking minds behind. In fact, when we integrate our other centers of intelligence, our brains are less likely to become hijacked and erratically drive the bus of our lives. It becomes possible for the mind to come online in service of the whole. That's why we've been doing so much somatic and embodiment work together. Why we've been putting such an emphasis on three-centered awareness. Because when all three centers are alive and attuned, we don't just believe something new, we become someone new. And as we become new together, we're finding new ways to carry the familiar tools that have shaped us here at Common Thread. Tools like the Enneagram, our self-awareness practice, and the rhythms of shared reflection that have helped form our community. These tools have been faithful companions on our journey, but they are not rigid relics. They are living practices growing with us as we grow. So let's take a look at how 3 of the practices we house loosely in the learning quadrant are evolving, and let's start with the Enneagram. Now, I don't have time to unpack the Enneagram in full this morning, but even if you're new, you may have already caught on that it's one of the foundational tools in our toolbox here. As a quick overview, the Enneagram is an ancient symbol. It has roots in early Christian mysticism and other wisdom traditions. But today, it's best known as a personality framework, one that maps 9 core lenses through which we experience the world, each shaped by distinct motivations, fears, and patterns. In a Common Thread, we've worked with this tool for decades, learning the types, noticing our patterns, tracing our coping strategies, naming the false self, the persona we put on to feel safe or loved or in control. Now, for many of us, it's been a revelation. It's given language to things we only vaguely sensed before. We've come to understand the energy we tend to lead with, whether it's the relentless drive for integrity of the 1, the emotional depth and longing of the 4, or the restless pursuit of possibility of the 7. And maybe, most powerfully, it's helped us extend compassion. Because behind every frustrating behavior, our own or someone else's, there's often a deep and beautiful longing that's just trying to get met. But even so, we have said from the beginning, your number isn't who you are. It's who you think you have to be. The Enneagram is a tool for growth, not a box to stay trapped in. So in order for it to form us, instead of merely informing us, we have to unlearn. Unlearn the habits that once protected us, but now keep us stuck. Unlearn the ego's reflexes. Unlearn the belief that understanding is the same as transformation. Because again, unlearning doesn't happen in the head alone. It's full-bodied, heart level, gut deep. We unlearn by being still and knowing. That's how we begin to feel the old patterns when they rise and stay present with them long enough for something new to emerge. Because without that kind of shift, the Enneagram can become a clever way to explain our behavior without ever changing it. We memorize our type, but we never outgrow it. We cling to a story like, well, I'm a 5, this is just how I am. Instead of asking, what else is possible? In fact, a lot of people don't know this, but the Enneagram didn't start out as a personality system at all. It began as a sacred map, a way of tracing how transformation unfolds, not in a straight line, but in spirals in the lines that connect each other, with interruptions, with friction, with grace, and most of all, with participation, because real growth requires us to show up, body, heart, and mind. And that's why this ancient symbol invites us to wake up in all three centers of our being. The head center, which helps us see the patterns, the heart center, which helps us feel what's been buried, and the gut center, which helps us return to what's real. When those centers come online, not just individually, but in harmony, we begin to move differently through the world. Less reactive, more grounded, more awake. Integration begins when we start to dismantle the notion that our type defines us, when we stop mistaking the structure for the soul. That's when the Enneagram stops being a mere diagram and reclaims its ancient power as a map of transformation. Not when we master our type, not when we become the healthy version of it, but when we remember who we are beneath it. So this fall, our drop-ins with Robin are still happening, but we're pausing our usual seminar and small groups to listen for what wants to emerge, to see who might feel called to lead. And in the new year, we hope to return with a more integrated, embodied approach to our Enneagram work, grounded more deeply in its ancient roots, one that reflects not just who we've been, but who we're becoming. Now, if the Enneagram helps us name our patterns, our self-awareness practice helps us be with them. Now, at the center of this practice is a worksheet that guides us through a triggering episode, something recent that stirred a strong emotional reaction. We walk through what happened, what it brought up, and what meaning it might hold for us. And then when we're ready, we meet with a trained listener, someone who holds space, not to fix or advise, but simply to accompany us. Through it, we learn how to notice ourselves with kindness, how to interrupt our internal autopilot, how to come back to the present moment with compassion, not criticism. And under its simplicity is a deeper invitation to unlearn what we've been taught about emotion, embodiment, and presence. To unlearn the habit of bypassing our feelings, or the belief that our worth depends on performance, or the scripts that tell us how to be strong, or good, or in control. And we have to be intentional about this invitation because it's possible to check the boxes, name the episode, identify the feelings, and still miss the deeper call. Without tuning into the body, the worksheet can become a kind of spiritual weather report. We're aware of the conditions, but nothing changes. And even the tool itself can become a shield, keeping us in safe observation mode instead of leading to real connection and deeper integration. But this practice was never just about naming what's true. It's about being with what's true, feeling it, breathing it, letting it move through us gently, patiently, lovingly, until the charge softens and clarity returns. In that way, genuine, lasting transformation is possible. Now, this November at the Well of Mercy retreat, we'll dive deeper into somatic tools and strengthen our capacity to stay grounded in presence as we engage this practice. And our self-awareness leadership team has been hard at work all year long, reimagining the practice with a more embodied and accessible approach. And the retreat will serve as a beta test for the updated version, and after that, we'll roll it out for the whole community, and we'll be eager to see how eager you are to participate. And of course, one of the most familiar expressions of learning in our community happens right here, week after week on Sunday mornings, through teachings, lessons, and through our post-lesson discussions called What Are You Thinking? Now, for years, Doug helped us deconstruct. He taught from his own lens, gave us new frameworks to explore, and then in what was frankly a revolutionary move, he handed the mic back to us. He invited the room to speak, to reflect, to share, to push back. Encountering that practice was the thing that sealed the deal for me when Maria and I first started coming. Because when a community doesn't treat the person with the microphone as the final word, but makes space for others to wonder out loud, that's not just refreshing, that's transformative. And over the past year in this role, I've tried to keep threading that needle, honoring where we've come from while listening for where we might be headed. And so each week I come with words from my own experience, my own study, my own sense of the Spirit's nudge. And I have to laugh a little now at the irony, because almost every week I stand up here and use words from my brain to try and tell your brain that you can't live only from your brains. But you're also being invited to notice something deeper, to notice how these words land in you, in your heart, in your body, in your lived experience. To ask not just what are you thinking, but what are you sensing, and what are you feeling? And to start there, because when we lead with presence, even our thinking becomes less reactive, more grounded, more whole. That's why we're evolving not just the content of our Sundays, but also the container, so that learning and unlearning becomes a fully embodied experience. A subtle shift from the weekly message being the anchor of our services to our becoming together as the anchor, through longer contemplative and embodied practices, through more participatory music and rhythm, through many voices, through silence, through a sense of being held by each other and for each other. Because we're not just unlearning church doctrine or practices, we're unlearning something deeper. The shameful, sometimes even terrifying things buried in our bones. The instinct to look to one voice for all the answers, the reflex to trust thinking over sensing, the habit of learning with our heads but leaving our hearts and our bodies out of the equation. The belief that transformation comes from absorbing the right ideas instead of living into a new way of being. Because whether it's listening to the Sunday morning lessons, engaging with our self-awareness practice, attending the Enneagram drop-ins, or using any of the tools we have discovered along the way, none of it makes much of a difference unless we do the inner work. Unless we learn to regulate our nervous systems, to practice presence, to unlearn the stories that once protected us but now keep us stuck. The tools are helpful, yes, but it's how we engage with them that transforms. So maybe this week, before you come back to church next Sunday, before you open a worksheet or lean on your Enneagram number, spend a little time remembering you can't think your way into wisdom. You have to feel it, sense it, practice it, be with it. Let it take root in your body, move through your relationships, interrupt your habits, get those old stories out of your bones. Be still and know. And so, indwelling divine, may we keep working the circle, walking the path, and learning to unlearn, so we can keep knowing with more of who we are together. Amen. Friends on the live stream, so glad you joined us this morning. We are about to do something I just talked about here in the room called What Are You Thinking? Sensing and Feeling. And we invite you to do the same. We have an online version of it. We've got a pretty robust remote community that gathers every week to listen to the service, and afterwards they get together for a conversation. And they would like to invite you to join them. And so underneath the YouTube video, you will see a comment and you'll see a link that says, "What are you thinking?" Click on that link and it will take you to a Zoom room where these folks will talk about the lesson, talk about the service, talk about their lives, what's going on in the world, building community and being together. And so they invite you to join them, and when you click on that link, you'll need a code to get in. It's 1417. and they would just love to have you join them. We also understand if that feels a little intimidating and that might not be the thing for you this morning. And if that's the case, there is another link below that comment that you can click to get an email where we will tell you about our community through the lens of remote community. It's not unlike the email that Melissa mentioned earlier. It's just as zero pressure, but it has a little more remote specificity to it. So if you don't feel like joining this morning or you're watching at another time, feel free to click that link and we will be very happy to send you an email and let you know more about us so that you can continue to discern whether or not this community might be one that holds life for you. And with that, friends in the room, can we dismiss our friends on the live stream by putting one hand on our heart and remembering the divine dwells within us. Be still and know that I am God. The divine life that is in us, which means that the fruit of the Spirit is also in us. Patience, kindness, goodness, love. And we are called to share what is in us, these nutrients that the world so desperately needs, with this world that desperately needs it. And so, let's extend our other hand to our city and to our world, committing to share what is in us with everyone we encounter this week, those with whom we live, with whom we work, with whom we go to school, anyone we bump into, taking seriously, as we do each week, our commitment to be healers and repairers of our world. Amen.